Welcome to the Manufacturing Masters Podcast with your host, Allison DeFord.
Manufacturing Day is coming. And you know what? It's actually Manufacturing Month. There is not just one day that you can celebrate not only being a manufacturer, you can celebrate your internal team. You can do a special event or an open house and bring in the community, open your doors, and share the benefits of the work that you're doing and the opportunities that exist, especially for local high school, junior high, and community college students. Politicians, too, don't forget them. It's really important that we stop being the best kept secret and we invite the world into our operations and really help boost manufacturing and close the skills gap once and for all. Fortunately, today's guest is Bill Padnos. He is the founder of CTSG Strategies, and he's had the privilege of visiting more than 100 manufacturing companies. He is a ball of fire, and he's got a ton of great ideas of how you can celebrate Manufacturing Day and Manufacturing Month, and really, as he says, 365. It doesn't just have to be a one-day thing or something that happens just in October. So let's dive in. We're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to give you some amazing ways that you can be involved and that you can make a difference in your business, in your community, and for the future of manufacturing. And if nobody else tells you this week, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you do as a maker, as an innovator, as a leader, and as a builder of things, a builder of people, a builder of commerce. The work you do is important and it matters, and investing some time in yourself and your business. Everybody, here we grow. Well, we are so lucky today to have Bill back on the podcast. Bill, so great to see you again.
I'm so glad to be here. I can't wait for our conversation today.
Well, this is going to be a doozy. So for everybody tuning in, we are going to be rapping about Manufacturing Day, which is actually kind of starting now, end of September and goes through the whole month of October. And we want to, I think, debunk maybe some myths around it. We want to talk about why you should participate and why it's important, and then ways that you as a manufacturer can get involved and really make a difference, because it has never been more important than right now, at least in my humble opinion, to really connect with the next generation and get them on board to close the skills gap. So first and foremost, Manufacturing Day, month, whatever we want to call it, at its core, like let's just define it quickly. It's an annual celebration that takes place on the first Friday in October, but effectively it's really all month. And the whole point is to showcase manufacturing as an industry and address some of the misconceptions about it, and really to invite kids into your organization, to invite, I feel like, your community, the world, into what's happening, because a lot of us are, as manufacturers, are the best kept secret, and we're really good at that. And so it's time to open the doors and really share the good things that are happening and the opportunities inside your location or locations. And I wanted to share this statistic with you and then dive into it a bit more. So according to Deloitte, and this is why this is so important, this month, this day, this energy around changing the landscape, is that the updated net need for new employees in manufacturing could be around 3.8 million between now and 2033. 3.8 million. That's a lot. And around half of these jobs could remain unfilled if we don't address the skills gap and the application gap. So that's a staggering number, but I'm a fan of the glass is half full. So let's dive in right there. What do you think, Bill? What's your read on this?
Well, once again, as I said before, it's great to be back. I'm so glad we're going to have this conversation. This is something that I've been working on since 2013 when I started working in manufacturing workforce development. And Manufacturing Day just started in the year prior that the fabricator, FMA, and NIST got together and said, let's do this. Now it's NAM and Manufacturing Institute are responsible. And luckily, they're the ones who, have been working with Deloitte. And every year we get these numbers about this open, about the open number of jobs, about the fact is that what we're looking at, it's always been around 2 million. Open positions will probably go unfilled unless more action, more things are taken. And one of the staggering things that I've been learning as I've been more and more involved in career and technical education is that only 92% of high school students are graduating with never taking a manufacturing technology course. 92%. And right now I would say my two kids are probably two of those, 92% that are never taking a manufacturing technology course. And so if you think about it, manufacturers have to only have 8% of high school graduates that have any little bit of an inclination of what they do that are graduating. This is the market that they're looking at is only 8%. And they're still competing against 4-year degrees and what, other people doing that, not knowing that this, maybe not necessarily these 8% are going to go directly into manufacturing.
Right.
So unless you open your doors, unless you out there in the community, unless you're willing to go after these students and talking to them or in the community, they're never going to come to you. So that 2 million is always going to be that number of open positions.
I always say they can't know what they don't know. So the exposure is critical, and it's so exciting. And I know you've seen this as well, to talk to a group of high school kids, to bring them to, like IMTS, which you just came back from, or an exciting convention, and for them to learn. And let's say these were kids that they didn't really necessarily want to go to college for a 4-year degree, or they don't have the means. And when they find out that this is such a phenomenal industry, that it is no longer blue collar, dirty, whatever the old image was, it's high tech, it's clean, it's exciting, and you can make amazing money, and you can work with amazing people on just the most innovative technology. They light up. Like I've seen manufacturers say, all right, who wants to fill out an application? These kids are lining up, and they're so excited because they didn't know. So you're so right. Like this is an exciting time and an exciting opportunity.
Manufacturing is almost like that unknown entity, even though everyone knows about it. Everyone has things. Everyone knows what manufacturing is. Everyone knows their components. Everyone knows their parts that go into things. They might not realize it's being made at a building down the street from them.
Yeah.
Because manufacturers don't necessarily, outside if they have the name on it, manufacturing, most people won't know it, but they don't know what's going inside. I mean, think about it. 67% of high school students pick their career pathways based on their interests and experiences. So if they never, again, we just talked about it, they never take a manufacturing technology course, they never walk into a manufacturing facility, they're not going to do this. There's no CSI machinist around. I mean, you sometimes used to see what is the closest person was like B.A. Baracus, an A-team, who was like, man, you see him, making things to add on to the van so then they can go through the bad guys. But you don't see that a lot. You don't know that. It's not there. And when companies are competing against that 8%, and again, competing against with, they're competing with, maybe 10 kids graduating from a local machining program as CTE. Unless you go out there to manufacture, you manufacture parts all the time, so manufacture your workforce. It's the same thing if you imagine if your sales team, do you want your sales team sitting around, waiting for the deals to come, that people come to your website? Because maybe you sent out a couple emails, you got to post a couple things, you sent out some emails, you're waiting for people to contact you. No, you want your salespeople to go out into the community. You want to bring your potential customers to come in to see your facility, to showcase what the technology have and what you can do. When you're going after sales, you have your sales team, they're going out there further, they're going after the people, you want them to be aggressive. But why wouldn't you be aggressive with future employees? Why wouldn't you be going to them, and reaching out to them, inviting them to come in, to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you have a future workforce and a pipeline? And Manufacturing Day is set up for you to do that. As they say, Manufacturing Day, Manufacturing Week, Manufacturing Month, Manufacturing 365. But
Right.
there is that excuse for you to be able to do that.
Well, yeah, I yes to everything you just said. And I love, and I'm going to be quoting you, you manufacture parts, you manufacture customers, you need to manufacture your workforce as well. Did I say that
Yes,
right?
you kind of, you added a little bit about your sales, but that is definitely it. You're manufacturers, you're problem solvers. That's why people hire you. People hire you, your company. They ask you to do something because they have this design, they have this, or they need something. They want you to design it. They want you to make it, and they want you to make sure that the quality is perfect. So if you are doing all those components on a component, why wouldn't you also do that, with reaching out to try and get your future workforce and not wait for them to come to you, but go after them? And that's why I think participating in Manufacturing Day is just such a valuable opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
because you are able to raise awareness. You are able to attract talent by opening your doors and letting people in. They see what's going on. As I said before, if you can drive by, a manufacturing facility, you have no idea what's going on inside. You don't understand the millions of dollars worth of equipment that's inside and
Right.
what's being done, what parts are being done, that it's being done for aerospace, for automotive, it's being done for medical devices,
Device. Yep.
it's saving lives,
Agriculture.
it's everything that's being done inside the facilities, that you have parts that are going up onto Mars, which we talked about last time with the
Mm-hmm.
innovation, is, promoting that component, which then of course dispels misconceptions about manufacturing. I've seen manufacturing floors that you can eat off of, how clean it
Yes.
is. I understand some, when you're talking about carbon or working with things, it's going to be a little dirty. You're not wearing necessarily a white shirt to it.
Right.
The equipment is high tech. The equipment is first rate. Even those, I always say, even a manual machine, it takes a little bit of ingenuity. It takes a lot, it takes some technology to run a manual machine. It just happens to
Yes.
be manual and not CNC. So you're allowed to dispel the misconception. They can see everything. They can also see what you're doing inside, what you're recycling. You're showing you're showing the chips that are going to go off to recycling. You can show that happening. Show how with the liquid you're using, coolant that you're using, how that's being recycled. So you just get to show a lot. And then, which we'll talk about later about tours, you're also, if you're going out and reaching out to the schools, you're able to build industry education partnerships. You then have that in with your local school. You have the ability, while someone's maybe taking the students around on a tour, you're able to talk to the educator, you're able to talk to the administrator and being able to say, hey, this is what I need your help with.
Yes.
And you're also building that partnership in terms, and you mentioned before about your community. You're opening your doors. You're invite, not just school, invite everybody to come to see what's out there and see what you're doing. And part of that community, of course, is the politicians. We're in election year. Every politician wants to have a photo op in a manufacturing facility. Why shouldn't it be yours? Invite them to come in, tour the facility, be able to see what you have and what's going on. And then you can also talk to them about concerns that you might have about legislation that's out there. It's just you have this opportunity that's available to you, that's being promoted across the country to open your doors. You need to go for it.
Yes. I love that you mentioned the politicians. I know there are many, but I know of a good handful, and several are my clients that do work regularly with local and state and even federal political figures, and they're very active. And I can tell you firsthand, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, they have seen some really amazing results. Um, because of this effort, because of putting themselves out there, making, introducing themselves, inviting people in, setting up, a photo opportunity. It can have quite a ripple effect. And so it's so worth the time. And I think one of the biggest things we could cover today is how can manufacturers celebrate manufacturing day? Like, let's give them some ideas of what they can do, because I think sometimes people, it sneaks up on you. You think, oh crap, it's coming. Maybe we're too late. We just won't do anything. And Bill and I are here to encourage you. You have plenty of time. Don't miss this opportunity to open your doors, to invite people in, to get yourself out to local community colleges and high schools. There's a lot. There's a lot you can take advantage of. So, what do you think, Bill? I want you to share some personal experiences of manufacturers that you've seen doing this really well. And also let's touch on a couple things here that manufacturers can do to celebrate and really take advantage of this opportunity.
Well, definitely the initial thinking about manufacturing day was, of course, getting the school kids, getting those, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, post-secondary school, to get those school groups in to your manufacturing facilities so you can change the perception of manufacturing at that moment, at that time, that they have a difference. And that is like the number one thing, is reach out to your local school, find out who is the individual teaching maybe technology education, who's teaching the STEM classes, who's teaching, if not math, it could be anything. Reaching out to them and saying, hey, it's manufacturing day coming up. Let's schedule a time for your students to come and visit a local company to be able to see what's happening, what's going on. We've been here in the community. We want to schedule a field trip to come and see how cool it is that we're there. But then when you get the students there, you need to plan it accordingly. You need to have the right people, relatively maybe close to what their ages are. Maybe I'm not saying like you have middle school kids and you have high school students, but maybe have some of your younger, future leaders.
Yeah.
Have them give the tours for the students, as you're in the back talking to the teachers and administrators about your needs, concerns, and stuff. But have those people show around, because not only, number one, it's great they're young, they show how young manufacturing is, but that also could potentially inspire them as well, because that improves their communication skills. If they can show students what they do and all about what's happening at your facility, that is a future leader for you as well. And I've seen that. I remember going to Ace Wire Spring and Foam here in Pittsburgh, and they're making springs. I mean, they're cutting the long metal and trying to figure out the rods. Then they put in these things, which I always used to think that seemed like they were torture devices. And they put it stretches, and then all of a sudden, boom, they become springs. So they took the students around, they're showing that. It's a nice loud noise. It's kind of cool when you hear it. And then what they did is then they went, into the conference room and they said, okay, you're going to make your own spring. So they took pipe cleaners and gave every kid a pipe cleaner and a pencil and say, okay, you're making your form. You're foaming this around. They're showing what they're doing, but if we relate it to the kids, they can be like, oh yeah, that's what it looks like, or that's what it was done. And then they actually used to say, they used to like give applications on the way out. But now I would just say, just do a QR code.
Right.
So then they can go to your page and stuff. But those kids came out excited. I loved going through there because it was kind of something cool. I'm not seeing them necessarily. They're not doing any sort of metal cutting or metal working, which I normally see, but they are taking pieces of the metal, running it through a machine, and all of a sudden here's a coil or a spring that you see around your bed, or you see it many different places. And they can relate, and the students can relate to that. And everyone was there. And I think one of the key components is it's not just about having the school kids coming around, but it's having your employees also active and being happy that they're showing what they're doing,
Yeah.
that they're excited about that there's a next generation. They're excited that the company is doing something about it. You don't think that your employees know that the average age keeps on creeping up every year of the workers.
Yep.
You don't think they know about overtime that they're doing. You don't think they know about that there is an open position or 2 or 3 in the company. They know that. And it's showing that you're doing something about that is just as great, during that time. I mean, I also think during manufacturing day, go ahead and still, order some pizza or do something for your employees, do a little bit of recognition of what they're doing as well.
I
That
love
I think
that.
is something that's important, not just think about the future, but also think about the people that are working for you and celebrate them. Highlight them on social media.
Yeah.
Highlight what they're doing. You should be doing that 365, but maybe on manufacturing day, not only doing what you have and trying to bring people in, but remembering what you have inside and saluting them and why they are so special to you as working for you. So that's definitely one in terms of school groups, but the other was a couple of years ago, I remember at Penn United, which is again here in the Pittsburgh area, and they kind of had an open house for the community because they want to showcase this new machining, it was manufacturing time, but they also want to showcase this new machining center they had. This thing was amazing. I mean, it seemed like it was like 300 feet long. I mean, it was just this massive machine that they were showcasing along with everything else they're doing. But because, again, this was open to the community, they had open interviews. They had places where people can fill out an application and then right there on site, do an interview. They can,
Wow.
they can go, they can see how cool what they're doing. And then they can also then right there, I'm going to interview for a job. And they can and they can gain a little bit more of being like, wow, this is what I can do. And they also had some food trucks out in front, out in front also. So that was another way where people can come, they can grab something to eat, they can tour the this new building they have with the machining center that they have. They can see a little bit more of what they do because they also showed where they're doing additive manufacturing. They can show where they're doing their traditional metal cutting with all the stuff they were doing. But then they said, hey, are you excited about this? Come for an interview. We can find something for you. And I thought it was amazing.
Well, and it's that, I recently had an experience with a client, and we called it the full circle moment. He's the CEO of a small manufacturer in Nebraska. And a new customer of theirs, invited them out to deliver these circuit boards that they make, and take a tour and see their robotics. Their this robot that they make, it's called Grain Weevil. So it does the work inside of a grain auger that no human wants to do. It's amazing. And so this manufacturer took 3 or 4 of his people out to the customer, and it turns out the Chief Innovation Officer, I was going to say CFO, the Chief Innovation Officer of this small company learned to solder through a high school robotics club that my client, this manufacturer, sponsored like 10 years ago. And he said he's into Star Wars. So he's like, I felt like the Padawan who became the Jedi, like to see this student come full circle. And now he's the chief innovation officer of this new startup that's doing amazing things. And it's like, this really works. Like these stories, I think the more we share these stories, and both kids can see, wow, I could do that someday. I could run the whole company. I could invent something. It's just, there's a world of opportunity. So I think the more we share these stories and these experiences, the better. And I absolutely want to applaud you for pointing out employee appreciation. I think this is a fantastic idea to celebrate Manufacturing Month, is to also honor your internal team and do something nice for them. And social media, that's another way that we can acknowledge internal and also customers. We can acknowledge local schools, local robotics programs. Like what else haven't we mentioned? Ways that manufacturers can celebrate.
Well, I think there's a couple ways. One way is about if there's an education fair, there's an expo around manufacturing. A lot of communities will have that expo around Manufacturing Day. And for you to be a part of that, I was over in Mentor, Ohio, which is Northeast Cleveland area, and this AWT Foundation, Roger Sustar, amazing individual, hosts this a manufacturing expo, and they are there to then invite the other manufacturers. He is a manufacturer itself, but he wants and help out others. So he invites them to exhibit there, but they not only exhibit, but they also have educational sessions where the students can learn a little bit more about manufacturing. The teachers can learn about manufacturing. So it's a morning program. I'm not sure if it's now even an all day, probably for them and everything that they do, but it's this expo that gives an opportunity for students to learn about all the different manufacturing companies in the area, learn about the opportunities that are available to them. But then it also makes sure that the teachers are not just sitting on the side, that they're there also learning as well.
Yes.
And that's what I always like what AWT Foundation does. And, there are some giveaways, there's some, all the kids, they take home pens and stuff, but you're being a little bit more deliberate, which I think is important. And it's just manufacturing. So we're manufacturing people on the pathway. So there might be some schools, but they have those manufacturing pathways as well. But again, I still think the important thing is you have to have follow-up, because remember, Manufacturing Day is just one day where you're able to change the perception. What are you doing then for the rest of the time? Are you going into the classroom and teaching the students about career opportunities that are available? Are you going in and talking about it? Are you helping the teacher, making sure that if they're the ones who are teaching manufacturing or helping to get students to get the skills that you need, are you providing them with some resources to be able to do so? Are you active in there? Are you then engaging the students in programs that could be like a STEM camp or even this camp champ that I was a part of, where you're having students are actually now doing the manufacturing process, where they're actually learning about, machining. They're there doing that and being mentored by high school students who are showing them, this is how you manufacture a pen. This is how you assemble it. This is what you're doing. So you have these students who have their peers are talking about, and leading through the process of this manufacturing process of making this pen and pen holder. But then what they're also doing is those CTE students who are the ones who are the mentors, are the teachers. So you're reinforcing their learning.
Yes.
So now you got a better employee. And if I was a manufacturer and I saw this program happening, or I was hosting this program, or I was at a school where this was taking place, I'm reaching out to every single one of those CTE students who are teaching others what they've learned in the classroom. I'm hiring them on the spot. I'm making sure I'm looking at that. And that's, again, the whole thing about Manufacturing Day. If you're going around and you're seeing some students who are just, their eyes are just like lit up. It looks like they can't wait. They want to be a part of this. Then reach out to the teacher and say, hey, you know what? I met this one student. They seemed excited about this. Can I reach out to their parents? Can I invite their parents to come over and learn about the facility and learn about potential internship opportunities that might be available, or co-op opportunities, or what it means, like if they were older in high school, what it means to potentially work for them. You also have to get those parents as well, because there is a stat out there that, only 53% of, actually, let me reverse that. 47% of parents know what CTE is, that career and technical education. I'm sure the rest of them think it's about head injuries, but only 40, yet
Right.
94% of parents, once their child is in a career and technical education program, think it's the greatest thing in the world. Think is that their student, they benefited from being in those courses. They benefited being from school, which is compared to 74% of students that are in standard education. So if you think about, once you get them into the bubble, then it's your opportunity now, then you have to close the deal. Same thing as we talked about with sales. If you got them ready that they're going to say yes, don't let them off the hook. Get them to say yes, close the deal. Right. And this is where you have that opportunity to do so.
That is so important. Well, gosh, we have reached the end of our time. It always goes so fast with you. There's just so much to cover and so much to learn. And there's so much enthusiasm and energy and positive reinforcement and momentum happening right now. So thank you so much for spending some time again. And you're always welcome back. We always have such a good time. And thank you for spreading the word and about Manufacturing Day. And I just really appreciate you, man.
Well, I appreciate this. And to all the manufacturers out there, it's, even if you can't do it by October 4th, do it the next week, the following week after that. If you have to do it in November, do it in November.
Yeah.
But, and again, if the school can't come to you because of busing issues, because of sub issues, then go to them. Then find something out to go to them or be a part. If you can't open your doors to them because they can't make it to you, then you go where they are.
Yes.
And that's just, you have to be able to just do, as we say, you need to do something. Start with something small. And then see, and then make that, I bet you after you do something small, you're going to do something bigger, than bigger, than bigger, because you're going to really enjoy what the experience is, an opportunity. And Allison, thank you again for this. And anyone needs help, just reach out to us.
Yes. And if you're not already, those of you who are listening or watching, if you're not already following Bill Padnos on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you connect with him. And also, he has some amazing videos on the Manufacturing Masters platform where he shares his expertise. And I just want to say thank you to everyone listening for spending some time, investing some time in yourself and in your business today, and just really for being a champion of manufacturing. It's really important. And in case nobody tells you this week, the work that you do matters, and we need you. So keep going. We'll see you all next time.
If you're not already, subscribe to the Manufacturing Masters podcast on Apple Music or Spotify. And for a deeper dive, head on over to manufacturing-masters.com. It's everything they never taught you in school.